The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Jungle with yours truly, the Chief Happiness Officer, Lyn-Dee Eldridge. And today, we are so blessed. I met this wonderful lady at another networking event. Go figure, right? They hear that a lot from me, Deborah. They hear that I go to a lot of networking events.
I can't imagine.
And who do I meet? Fabulous people just like you.
Thank you.
You are, to me, are like the goddess of inner strength and inner energy.
Oh.
And when you and I met, we were kind of sitting side by side, but there was a space between us. But yet that space seemed to have been filled with some kind of a magnetic energy that was really flowing, and I could feel it.
Yes.
And we were both there being students.
We were.
Every time I glazed at you, you were taking copious notes. It was fabulous. I loved it. And then come to find out that you're a life coach and you're a master teacher and you do all these things and you understand how to turn yourself around within 14 days, within 9 days. And I want my audience to realize that when we share that with you, it doesn't mean that it's over, that you're done, you've transformed.
No.
Share everybody your deliciousness, because everybody... This is Deborah, and she is amazing. And I want you to share exactly what it is that you do. I resonated with you for a reason, and I can't believe that you're sitting here now.
Well, I kind of can't either, because what's really ironic, Lyn-Dee, is that it's only been, what, just over 2 weeks?
Yes.
Just over that 14-day time period since we actually first met. And you're right, there was definitely an energetic pull in that room, in that space. It was a very small networking event, and I actually connected with everyone in that room. And your energy is so big and bright and bubbly, and who wouldn't be attracted to that?
You're so sweet. I want people to realize they don't have to go into a room where there's a big party.
Not at all.
The smallest amount of people you could probably learn from more so than anything else in the world.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's really interesting how we met. And one of the things that you said at that meeting I wanted to actually share today with everyone is that I remember you saying, you know, it's not so much, as good as the energy is here today, right? It's not so much about that. It's about what happens tomorrow. Like, I'll never forget that you had said that, and you may not even remember saying it. Because I do the same thing. People will quote my writing to me, and I'm like, I wrote that? Okay.
Yeah. I'll own that.
Because we're channels, right? We're in the moment, and, you know, that's what it really means to be in touch with who it is that you are, is to just be open to receive and then to give, right?
It's so true.
Acting as a conduit and a channel. But so what's interesting about the way you sort of dubbed the show today about this 14-day turnaround, there's a couple things I'll talk about. But the first thing is really, you know, connecting back to what you had said. You know, what happens at these interactive groups, you know, the networking, really inspiring, you know, like you said, copious note-taking, you know, what can I possibly take from this, walking in as this open, with an open heart, you know, ready to receive. So you get inspiration, and then what happens the next day is you wake up, at least for me, feeling completely refreshed, completely invigorated, just ready to kind of plant some of these, or harvest some of these seeds that I had planted a while ago. So one of those things is I am a life coach, in the process of kind of revamping and getting a little bit more specific with some of my work that I do. So first and foremost, before I even get into a lot of these things that I do, I like to consider myself a minister and a spiritual teacher. I would not be anywhere without my spiritual background. And I am on the board of directors for a multi-denominational virtual church called the Divine Order of the Sacred Rose.
Oh my goodness.
Brand new. We just had our first fundraising event, raised some money to get a website page out there, so we're working on that. But it's really important for me to actually say that out loud and express the fact that first and foremost, I am a minister and a spiritual teacher, because it's this piece of myself that I avoided for a really long time. You know, before we kind of sat down here to do this formally, we were talking about the concept of wholeness.
Yes.
Really, in embracing all parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the one piece that I was shying away from for a really long time. So, you know, it's front and center with me right now. All
like
about
that.
unconditional love, all about loving yourself.
Right.
First and foremost.
I want to go back to you being a minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued because most people think they have to be religious, and that's not true. They have to be spiritual. I learned
big
a long time
difference.
ago that religion doesn't cut it.
No.
It's
no.
just it's to me, it's either a shadow or it's a wall.
Yes, and that's not certainly not to dismiss anyone's
No, it's not.
own religious beliefs.
That's right.
But the truth is that, yeah, you know, a lot of religion and that formal title is
Yes.
really just formality.
Right.
And that's something that I had to break through, you know, because essentially I'm trying to redefine what it means to be a minister, redefine what it means to have a religion. You know, it's really all about that connectedness. There is a divine source,
Yes,
and you
there
can
is.
call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it God, you can call it the angels,
Right.
you can call it source, the universe, the
Yeah.
force, let the
Right.
force be with you, right? Whatever you want to call it, it's
Yeah.
there. And I think most people and most religions go back to a belief in that,
Yes.
right? So all about connectedness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my foundation with spirituality actually came from a lot of 12-step teachings. My father was an alcoholic when I grew up. He's been in recovery for several years now.
Amen.
But it led me to my own recovery program. I found Adult Children of Alcoholics, Al-Anon, way back in the day, and a lot of very basic spiritual teachings came from there. Okay, and then, you know, I bumped up against things as I moved through my life.
Yes.
Got connected with Angels Teach, angelsteach.com. And I was a little bit like you in the sense that, ooh, angels, what does this mean? You know, when we think of angels, when we think of God, when we think of anything, quote unquote, religious or even spiritual,
Right.
we think of this concept of something out there,
Right.
kind of outside of ourselves that we're looking up to. The basic philosophy of any of my 12-step work, my belief, Angels Teach, is that divinity is a piece of you, and you are a piece of that. So
I
the
love that.
angels, yes, so do I. And so the angels in Angels Teach
Yes.
are all about the messengers, that connectedness to the divine. It's your higher self. You know, and that's what sets Angels Teach apart. I believe that's what sets me apart and most, you know, forward thinkers apart from that traditional religion. Because yes, there is something greater, but we are co-creating. We are working together. This isn't about me looking up to you and
That's
waiting
right.
for you to fix me. You know, it's about me connecting with that source that's really within me and within all of you, within you. That's how you became Chief Happiness Officer here. That's how this whole thing grew, right? Because
Yes.
you listened
Yes.
to that voice. So
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's important for me to talk about being a minister. And it sort of started very informally with American Marriage Ministries. I signed up and I did a few ceremonies and I loved it. And then it was, you know,
Can
more...
anyone become a minister? I hear so many times, like people tell me, I should become a minister, I should become, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah, it depends on where you want to go.
What does that mean?
Right,
Right.
exactly. Well, what does it mean for you?
Right.
You know, I would turn it back on anyone who's considering it and be able to ask that question of yourself.
Yes.
And really, you know, it's not an easy one to answer. It takes a little digging and a little clearing out.
yeah. When it was the last time that it was introduced to me, and it was said to me several times as a suggestion, was because I spoke at a church
Yes.
in regards to the spiritual being of happiness.
Yes,
And afterwards they came up and they asked me, am I a minister of any kind?
right.
And I looked and I said, in my own mind.
Yes, exactly. Well, I
Yes.
love that because I just had someone ask me recently. She kind of said, "Oh, you know, you're a minister, you're a spiritual teacher. You know, what doctrine or where do you pull from?" And I said, "My own experience, strength, and hope." And she kind of looked at me and said, "That's amazing." She said, I wish, you know, I kind of wish I was brave enough to do that. And I said, "Oh, but you are." You know?
Yes, that
Oh,
was
but
the
you
answer.
are.
Yes, but
Yeah,
you are.
You absolutely are. You know, and yes, I think that, you know, I was called to do that. That was not something I set out to do as a little girl. And, when I grow up, I want to be a minister. What? No, that's not where we started. In fact, you know, I started doing massage therapy. And that's where, you know, most people sort of knew me as a massage therapist.
Oh my goodness.
But I always, you know, I always come back to my spiritual roots because essentially the reason I got into massage therapy, I was divorced and I had 2 kids. My son is the one that really turned me on to my spirituality because when my son was born, he was colicky. So a lot of us can relate to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Colicky baby means you scream 24/7 unless you're sleeping, which is very small amounts of time. And when you're in a situation like that, you really have no choice other than to really tap into what it is that's inside you, your own knowingness. Like, you know, it's that women's intuition.
Right.
It's that thing that comes from being a mother and just knowing your child and knowing yourself. Because you get into those moments. I remember, I'm going to be a little transparent here, like, kind of, for those of you who don't know, behind Lyn-Dee, I can see this timer ticking, right? And I remember, she's bringing me back to one time when I was in my living room with my son, all by myself, stressed out, no sleep, holding him and just pacing back and forth because he's screaming. And I remember looking at my clock saying, I can do this for 1 more minute. I can do this for 1 more minute. And sometimes that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Is just breaking it down to, like, for the next minute, I've got this. You know, and that's how we build our strength.
Yeah.
It's not about, like, oh, I'm going to be here in 14 days, I'm going to be there. It's like, I'm going to be here, and then tomorrow I'm going to do this.
Right.
And then we ask ourselves, what is the next right thing? You know? And how do you answer that question? Well, you tune into your guidance. You tune into your knowingness. You tune into the power of your intuition. You know? So yeah, getting back to the massage therapy thing, you know, with my son, I knew first and foremost, the only thing that worked for this kid was to love him. You know, was to just love him and to really be an expression of that love, and touch was a huge part of it.
Right. How old is he now?
He's 10.
He's 10 years old.
He's 10. My little boy.
When did he stop becoming colicky?
Oh,
You know, because there are people out there.
I think he still is. No, it lasted a good 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went through a lot of stuff.
A lot of people think that's hell, and it is. And it is.
1 minute at a time.
Yes, it's 1 minute at a time. And there's lessons that you're going through. And
Yeah.
God never gives you more than you could handle.
No.
And whatever God that is, it's a fact.
Exactly. And so
So-
everything opens doors. You know,
Yeah.
I believe that there's a thread through every experience that we have in our life. And I'll just share that when Lyn-Dee, when you asked me to come on your show, you know, we weren't sure, I wasn't 100% sure how I wanted to package myself.
Right.
And you went and you dug up what I was doing and
I
you just
did.
put it out there. And
I
I'm like,
did.
oh boy. But you know, that's me and that's who I am. And I wear a
Yes.
lot of hats. You know, I wear a lot of hats. And
Right.
they're all connected. They're all pieces of me.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really proud of everything that I've done, you know?
You know, I love that. I tell people, you know what you need? You need a hat rack.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
Because every hat that you have worn is a symbol of who you are today
It's a
and
piece
brought
of you.
you. Yes.
Mhm.
So I love my shows are always it's a one take shot.
Yep.
There's no editing. It's real and raw.
Yes,
And I
it is.
love that because we really get to, I want my audience to realize that you and I are just as real as they are sitting on their couch or wherever they are listening to our show. I want them to realize that everything that we have accomplished and are accomplishing,
Yep.
that they can do the same thing.
Absolutely.
This show wasn't built, you know, overnight, for
Rome
sure.
wasn't built in a day.
Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm not worried about next week. I'm enjoying this moment with you.
Yes.
And when you came on the show, you said, "What are we talking about?" I said, "Everything."
Anything and everything that comes
Anything
up.
and everything.
Yes.
As long as our audience gets to participate in it, that's what thrives me. So for this show, I think that it's just so vital that people understand that it's okay to wear a lot of hats. Just figure
Yes.
out what hat you want to wear.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
And if you don't want to throw away some of those other hats,
You don't have to.
Don't
Yeah.
incorporate them into what
That's
you're
right.
doing. You know, some people are not meant to do just one thing.
Right.
Some people are meant to do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is to just, you know, be okay with that. Be okay with who you are.
That's right. Give yourself permission.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to honor whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
doing. And, you know, to me, life is all about experience.
That's right.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so everything is an experiment.
Is every day good for you?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's all because of that mindset.
It is. And,
Yeah.
you know, yes and no.
That's
so
right.
it's funny because as you said that, no, not every day is great. Not
Mhm.
every day is fantastic. I mean, I went through those days with the colicky baby. I have my share of problems with, you know, you name it, money, you know, this, that, the other thing. We all struggle with
That's
these things. You know, and that's part of being authentic.
That's right.
You know, honoring where you are,
Mm-hmm.
taking all of the things that you've learned and putting them to use.
Yes.
You know, all of these different tools, all these different hats that we wear, all these different experiences that we've
That's right.
had, gather that in and use it.
And channel in.
Channel.
And because of the way the world is today with social media, there's no reason why people aren't connecting. There is no more excuses in the world. When we were growing up, it was that we needed to get from here to there in order to fill ourselves because there wasn't any of this telecommunication.
Right.
So if we weren't able to pick ourselves up and go, we weren't there. So we had to learn how to self-absorb and train ourselves.
Yep.
Audio wasn't in existence.
No, that's right.
Not like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So you were either a reader, and then we have dyslexic. That's me. I am dyslexic. And I want everybody to realize that whoever is dyslexic, it's an excuse.
It can be.
It can be. When I learned that Cher was 100% raw dyslexic, and she has to have somebody read her screenplays or whatever that she's involved in, that gave me permission to say, hi, my name is Lyn-Dee Eldridge, and I am dyslexic, and I have figured out a way to turn that into a golden nugget for me.
Absolutely.
You know?
It goes back to that authenticity and owning who it is that you are. I was just having a conversation the other day with a fellow teacher of mine about Tony Robbins, and we all know who Tony Robbins is.
Oh, yes.
And the fact of the matter is that, whether you like Tony or don't like Tony, underneath all of his work is the same thing that we're doing.
Yes.
Is trying to get people in touch with that self-empowerment. Being able to turn around those things that we sometimes see as not pretty or as, defaults or whatever we want to say. We have that little itty-bitty committee that runs around the head telling you all this negative stuff, right?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
little itty-bitty committee.
Yeah, I usually add another word in there, but, we're on TV, so I'll keep that one out. But, honestly, it's really just about getting in touch with that power within you.
And accepting and allowing yourself to mess up. Because if you can't mess up, you can't be a teacher.
Teaching and learning are cyclical. It's the same cycle. So there's a lot of women that I meet and work with who think, well, I can't do that because I'm not, I haven't mastered it, or I'm not ready, or I'm still working on that myself. Well, what makes you a better teacher than somebody who's right there working on it yourself?
Exactly.
And once you get through it, and you can share that with people, and they appreciate that.
Yes.
I know for me, I used to be like, well, I can't be a minister because I'm not even really sure what that means for myself, and sometimes I get, flustered and angry with God and angry with these definitions that are being put on me, like they wanted me to be head of church. I'm like, head of church? I don't think so. I got tattoos, I got all this. It's like, but you got to break through those barriers, and find out what it means to you. It all comes down to authenticity.
It really, you know what store I love? Apple.
Yes.
You want to know why I love it? Because you walk in and people have their piercing, their gauging, their tattoos, they're in flip-flops. Apple decided to allow people to have their own personalities and abilities. They've all chosen to learn something in regards to Apple. They were willing to be trained to become who they wanted to become, but Apple said you are each an individual, and that's who we want to see when we walk into the store.
Yes.
So you walk in and you're totally gravitated towards this because it feels like a hangout. Versus everybody in the suits, and everybody has to stand a certain way. Your hair has to be perfect. You can't have any roots. Everything has to be so. Nobody sees who anybody is.
Right. Yeah, we break through the boxes, don't we?
We sure do.
That's
and
what it's all
I
about.
love breaking through the boxes. I love all your phrases. I'm stealing them all.
Oh, hey, go right ahead.
I'm going to give you credit 3 times, and then I'm taking it. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Good.
So let me go back a little bit here to some of the things that I'm doing. I still do massage therapy. I feel like it's an integral part of healing. I do hypnosis work. Kind of just got into that this past year. I do life coaching. I do EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. You may or may not have heard of that. It's called tapping. But essentially, it's this technique that you use to get to the heart of what's holding you back.
Wow.
You got emotions in there. We're going to get them out. And you just tap on these little meridians.
Emotional coding.
Similar. Very similar. It's
wow.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And it's actually very simple, as is hypnosis. People hear these words like, EFT, coding, hypnosis. What is all this crazy stuff? None of it's crazy. It's all about tapping into you, getting through the layers that have been put on us, right? From growing up, from society, from our experiences that weren't so great, right? hiding behind fear, all that good stuff, right? But, you know, essentially it's all about digging in there, getting back to your essence, letting it come out and shine.
Right.
Right?
But you know what I love about you is that you offer a unique balance for people. And what I mean by that is that let's take meditation. There are people that could sit there and they could listen to a nice biofeedback. They could close their eyes. They could center themselves. I can't do that. I cannot do that. Sometimes it spirals me to a place that I don't want to go. So what I've learned is that it was okay not to close my eyes during meditate. It was okay to find a center point.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I love that. Because when I was growing up, I used to love drama. You know, being in drama class. And it was always, yeah, can you imagine that? And it was always, don't look at the people, look at the over their heads. Find that vocal point. Find where you can look. And that helped me center.
Yep.
So I want people to realize that meditation comes in many different
There's
forms.
Walking meditation, there's all
Share
kinds of
that,
things.
because I want everyone to realize that you don't think you can meditate when you can meditate, and it's as easy as going for that walk.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
I mean,
know?
it's about figuring out what it is that
Yeah.
works for you, which again goes back to following your guidance,
Yes.
your own internal knowingness about what's right for you.
Right.
And we're so often afraid to say that, you know? Yeah, to just speak about the different types of meditation or the different types of being able to do what works for you.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, I had a few traumatic experiences when I was younger. I had my nose was broken and I had trouble breathing, and it was just a very traumatic experience for me. So I remember sitting in a class one time where they're saying, okay, now you have to just breathe. Just close your eyes and breathe this way. And I would be like, not happening. It's not happening.
Right.
Because as soon as I try doing that, it's like triggering this thing for me. Okay, and some may say, well, you just need to heal that. And I'm like, no, I need to work with this.
That's right.
You know, we need to work with this.
What you just said was, boom, so powerful. You need to learn how to work with it.
Absolutely.
Not go, no, you do need to do this. That was very powerful.
Yeah, so what works for you?
Right.
You know, when I went through my training, I talk about being a master teacher. I talk about that in terms of being able to teach people how to tap
Yes.
into their intuition. You know, how do you get to know that? How do you get to learn what messages are, what signals to listen to, what's right, what's not so right for you, what feels sticky? You know, the people receive messages in different ways. So that's essentially what I'm teaching about. And there's lots of levels to go through. And one of the things we like to play with is we play with we call it body dowsing, right? So we're familiar with the word dowsing. Like back in the day, people had rods and they would douse try to find water, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you may have heard of that. So one of the ways to figure out like a yes or a no is to kind of figure out what your body's going to do, right? So I'm sitting in this class when I was a student, and they're talking like, okay, so for most people, which I learned I do not fall into that category, but for most people, you know, a yes is going to be forward and a no is going to be backwards. And I'm over here like left to right, left to right, left to right. And I'm saying, this isn't working for me. I can't do it, right? And then I finally like just surrendered and said, okay, for me, my yes is this way. And my no is this way.
And that was good.
And it was good. And it took courage, though, for me to say that. Because like everybody else in the class is like, oh, yeah, I'm forward and I'm backward. I'm like, it's not working for me. But it's not that it's not working for me. It's that it's different for me.
Yeah.
You know, and when you kind of get that centeredness,
That's right.
because that's what all of my tools do is get people centered, whether it's through massage work, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through teaching and learning, hypnosis, whatever it is, it's about getting centered, getting clear right here, right now.
That's right.
That's how you connect, and that's how you learn.
Right.
That's how you learn how you tick. And once you know how you tick, well, then everything else is cake, right?
It's pretty much
everything else
cake.
just kind of flows.
It's true.
It really does.
And don't buy into other people's opinions about you. Who knows you better than you know you?
Right. But, well, I mean, I guess the only problem with that is, again, so many of us have been conditioned, especially women, right? I got to put everybody else's needs first. I have to do what everybody else thinks I should be doing, or what I, you know, should be
I have
doing
to say
as a
I'm
mom.
sorry all the time.
That was a big deal for me with my kids. You know, oh, you need to tell them you're sorry. You need to go give so-and-so a hug. Why? Are they authentically feeling it?
Right.
If they are, then great. If they're not, let's not force that.
That's right.
You know?
And here we are, we're teaching our children and people, you know, don't talk to strangers. Would you go and say hello to that person, please?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like,
What?
How does that happen? You know, so
Yeah.
are we giving mixed signals, but yet we're trying to show people that this is how you do it?
Yeah.
Or are we sharing with people from your heart? If it feels right, then do it.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Yes. And I think what's a big key that I stole from kind of 12-step, programs and knowledge is that it's about attraction rather than promotion. And I think that's how you operate.
It is.
That's how we connected with one another.
That's true.
Right? Because it's like, wow, what is she doing?
Yeah.
What does she have? I want what she has.
Right.
Like, she's attractive to me. I want to know what she's doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not over here saying, oh, you need to come do this and that and buy it. No, that's not what we're about.
Well, number one, I don't want anybody, I won't just work with anybody. And that's another thing that I really want everyone to understand is just because you're connected to certain people does not mean that you have to be with those people, that
Not
you have to
everybody
work
is
with
part
them.
of your tribe.
Not everybody, exactly. Not everybody's part of your tribe. They may have something to do within your tribe, but it doesn't mean that you need to play with them all the time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and sometimes, you meet people at an event and you might be like, oh, I need to connect with her. I'm not sure
Right.
why. And then you kind of realize, oh, it was just so that I could meet so-and-so.
Yes.
And then you're done.
And
with
you're
that
done.
person. There's no obligation. There's no, just.
That's right.
And again, all of that clarity comes from tapping into your own knowingness, knowing who you are.
Yeah, and surrounding yourself in a place where you feel that there's other
Supported.
like-minded people and it's supported.
Yep.
And then you could pick and choose. Wow, is this somebody I'd like to go have coffee with and learn more about it? You go have coffee, just like you said.
Yeah.
You learn about each other. And then you decide, is there another part of this relationship that we
Yes.
should continue, or was this good enough?
Exactly. Yeah, because it's what's that old saying about, not everybody's meant to be in your life forever. Some come
Yeah.
for a season, some from whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of butchering it, but you know what
Yeah,
I mean.
it's okay. You can
Some
butcher it.
for a reason, some for a season,
That's right.
some for a lifetime.
And however people fall into your life is delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause
All
you,
is in
you
alignment.
gravitate and you learn from it.
Totally.
Yeah, I love my happiness peeps that I work with, that I do my one-on-ones or if I'm working with the
Yes.
company, and I love it. I gravitated because we're all on the same mission and we could feel each other's energy. I cannot believe we're almost out of time.
Oh my goodness, I know.
How can
it's
they
crazy.
get in touch with you?
All right. So basically, just go ahead and visit my website. It's a little tricky to remember, but it's dhklmt.massagetherapy.com. And even though that's my massage therapy website, everything you need to know is on there. And I'm totally working on all of this other stuff. Within 14 days, you can do amazing things. 5 days of learning how to tap into your intuition. 9 days of connecting with like-minded people.
Hello.
So talk to me about that.
I don't know about you, but I have filled myself today with some amazingness with Deborah. And I got to tell you, we never said life was easy, but we did say that you can be happy. And with all the tips that you shared today, I just have to say thank you so much for coming into my world.
Wow.
Everybody, give it up and go and take action on your day because only you have those controls. Deborah.
High five. Woohoo! All right. Yeah, baby.
Nicely done.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.